For you as a third grader, it is one of your standards to learn about adjectives. And let's see what your objective is. Your objective is that you, the scholars, which are my smart students, will be able to describe the function of an adjective when used in a sentence. An adjective is a describing word. And the purpose of an adjective is to describe the noun with a detailed word. And we've talked about what nouns are. Let's see if you remember what they are. Nouns are words that describe a person, a place, and a thing. So person, a place, oops, no, and a thing. For example, a person like me, Mrs. Northcott, a place such as our school, and a thing such as this video that you're watching right now. But there are two things that you need to keep in mind to help you understand adjectives a little better. An adjective is going to answer two questions, and the questions are what kind and how many. And here's a little tip for you. If you can easily locate the adjective, but first identify the noun in the sentence, then you can ask yourself these questions about the noun about what kind or how many. Let's practice. Down here I have some pictures for you, and let's take a look at this one first. So first thing I want you to tell me is, what is the noun? What is the main focus of this picture? And hopefully you would tell me that the main focus here is a waterfall. A waterfall. And now let's ask ourselves those questions that we said earlier were important, such as what kind. So look at the picture and ask yourself, well, what kind of waterfall is it? An example of what kind would be the word breathtaking, a breathtaking waterfall. So that means breathtaking is an adjective because it describes the waterfall. Another example would be the word gorgeous. What kind of waterfall? A gorgeous waterfall. Now, can you come up with an adjective that describes the waterfall? Let's see what you come up with. How about the tropical waterfall? And there's many more that you can come up with that are creative also. Let's take a look over here at this one, this picture right here. And what do you see? What is the noun that you see in this picture? Hopefully you would say that you see a picture of a fox, but there's more than one. So we learned the rule about changing that singular noun to a plural noun, and when it ends in an X, we need to add in ES. So this is a picture of foxes. And some words that now describe the foxes, that describe the noun. Let's take a look back at these two questions to ask ourselves. For example, well, what kind of foxes? And you could say the young foxes. They look pretty young to me. So the young foxes, and make sure that these words go together once you've answered that question of what kind. How about how many foxes? Remember that adjectives don't always have to describe the way they look, but also they can describe how many there are in number. For example, there's 1, 2. So an adjective word that would also be acceptable is 2 foxes. Now, what are some other words that would also describe this picture? What could you say about these foxes with what kind of foxes or how many foxes? There are some special adjectives that we can look at to help us. Some special adjectives, they're called articles. And these are really special because you may not think of them as adjectives, but they are in secret. The word a, we don't have to capitalize it unless it's at the beginning of a sentence, but the word a is an adjective, also known as an article, and a usually stands for singular, but it also can stand for plural. So here we would not want to say a fox because there's more than one, which a is showing you. You could say a pair of foxes, so a pair of foxes would work. And in that case, they both would be an adjective here. A pair of foxes. And also we have an. And an is showing singular usually, and the n is needed because a cannot be next to another word that starts with a vowel. For example, let's say an elephant. The word elephant starts with an E, and because of that, it has to be attaching to the word an next to a consonant. It wouldn't make any sense if we said a elephant, so we have to leave an there. But back to the foxes, we wouldn't say an elephant. And the is another special article, and what it does is it symbolizes also singular or plural, just like we said for a, singular or plural. And an was usually singular. And remember that singular means one, and plural means more than one. I could say the foxes. That would work here also. The foxes are playing, or the playful foxes. So I think what I'll do here is say the playful for the playful foxes. And both of these words are adjectives. The being a special adjective and article, and playful being an adjective that describes, well, what kind of foxes are they? They're playful foxes. I don't think they're fighting. I think they're playing. And let's take a look at the final thing that we can do with adjectives and what they help us with. Adjectives make your writing more interesting, and they add details to change boring sentences into more interesting sentences. And that's what we want you to be as a third grade writer. We want you to write interesting stories and interesting papers that are built out of interesting words, which we need adjectives for that. Let's take a look at this example here. The sentence says, I planned a trip to the island of Kauai. It's a beautiful place. And I need to add some details here. Let's find all the nouns like we said before. So I is a noun because it names a person, which is me. I planned a trip to the island of Kauai. What are some other words in this sentence that have a person, place, or thing? Hopefully you would answer the word trip, because a trip is a thing. It's a thing that you can go on maybe with your family. So I planned a trip. What else is a noun in here? An island is a thing. It's a body of land surrounded by water, so an island. And finally, there's another noun in here that is the name of a place, a proper noun. Remember, proper nouns are names of places, and that would be Kauai. So this sentence is full of nouns. And let's see now if we can add some adjectives to these nouns to make the sentence more interesting. So instead of I planned a trip to the island of Kauai, we notice that we're not going to add anything to I, what kind of I or how many I. That doesn't really make sense. So let's go to the next noun, which is trip. Ask yourself, well, what kind of trip or how many trips? And you should see that there is already a adjective, which is a a special one called an article already hiding in our sentence. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it red. A already is symbolizing one trip. So I planned a trip to the island of Kauai. Let's get another word in here that adds information and detail to our word trip. What could you say about the trip? What kind of trip is this? What does it sound like it could be? I'm going to add the word, I planned an amazing trip or an exciting trip. Let's do exciting. And I'm going to change it red because I know it's an adjective because I described the trip. Now, do you notice something wrong here with my sentence? And the nice thing about using Google Docs or Word document is that it signals when there is an error of some sort. You can't always trust it, but for the most part, it makes you think about what you're doing. So I planned an exciting trip. That doesn't sound right, and remember the rule that I just stated before, that when you have two words that are going to be touching and are connecting to each other in this sentence, vowels need to be separated by a consonant. Therefore, instead of I planned a exciting, it would be I planned an exciting trip. And now it shows that it fixed itself. So I planned an exciting trip to the island of Kauai. We can make the sentence more interesting by adding a little bit more to our sentence. Let's add something to this island. Well, what kind of island is it? We could say even the size of it. So I know that Kauai is a small island. I think I'm going to use small as my adjective. I planned an exciting trip to the island or to the small island of Kauai. And I hope you saw also that there's another hiding adjective here. Remember those special adjectives? What were they called? They were called articles. And this is telling you that we're just talking about one island, to the small island of Kauai. I think my sentence sounds good enough, so I don't think I'm going to add anything to this last noun, Kauai. I think I'm going to leave it there. So I planned an exciting trip to the small island of Kauai. And I hope that you can hear how that sentence sounds more interesting than it did before when it left out all of the words in red, which are our adjectives. Let's try one more. I'm going to read the sentence as it is. The dolphin swam next to the boat. The sentence is fine, it's complete. It contains a noun, it contains a verb, some information, but it's lacking in depth and detail. So let's go ahead and identify our nouns so we can add some more interesting words, adjectives, to describe them. So is there any person or place or thing happening in our sentence? That's where you start and ask yourself. Well, the is not a person, place, or thing. Let's go to the next word, dolphins. Dolphins are things, they're animals, they're living things. So that is my noun. And I changed it to green to symbolize the color change here, color coding we're doing for our nouns being green. So the dolphins, notice that S means more than one, plural. So the dolphin swam next to the boat. Swam, that's not a person, place, or thing. That's actually a verb, and we'll get to more of those later. Next to the boat. There is another noun in here, another thing that's happening in the sentence. Can you find it? Hopefully you said the word boat, because a boat is a thing, something you can actually sit on or be inside of. So now let's add some details to these two nouns that we have. The dolphins. Hopefully you found and remember that those are special adjectives called articles. And the here is it showing that it's singular or plural for the dolphins. Ask yourself that question. The is symbolizing plural, more than one, because we see that this is a group of dolphins. So the dolphins. Let's add something else to make it more interesting. What kind of dolphins or how many dolphins? Let's do a how many. I know there's more than one. So let's come up with a number. The 15 dolphins. That's a number. That's an adjective. The 15 dolphins swam next to the boat. And let's add something to boat. Let's make it more interesting. We already did a how many, so let's do a what kind. So what kind of boat? What kind of boat would you want to have? The 15 dolphins swam next to the large boat, the humongous boat, the gigantic boat. I like that one. So gigantic is also an adjective, and it needs the help of its special friend here, the article, which is also an adjective, telling us that it's either singular or plural, and in this case it's only one. Let's read the sentence again and see if it sounds better than it did before. The 15 dolphins swam next to the gigantic boat. Sounds a lot better than what we started with the dolphin swam next to the boat. So remember that adjectives are describing words, and adjectives, their job is to describe nouns. That's their function. I hope that you'll use nouns and verbs and adjectives together to build very interesting stories in all of your classwork this year. Thank you. Bye.